Relics containing body parts of some ancient being, Eris and Drifter acting all lovey-dovey, and Mithrax's past bursting from the pipes of the ether tank.
I told you not to speak of this. Do I have to dock your tongue?
Father!
Today we are going to round up the story from this week's quest and lore. From the new quest steps and pirate lord to the new lore entry, let's begin. Mythrax begins by alerting us of Aramis's crew's next move. The goal is still the same: hunt down and collect relics from these pirate lords for some mysterious reason. This week though, he asks for a favor: to not include his daughter Eido in our missions.
Guardian, we have new readings. Aramis's fleet moves across the system, pursuing relics of power. Summon your crew. And a request, please, as a favor to me. Do not involve Eido in your violence against the old crews. She is brave and curious, but does not yet understand the brutality of the world. There are pain truths in our history. I should have told her earlier, before all this. But I must learn before I can teach, and for that I need time. Disrupt Aramis's crews, and stop her from collecting the relics. Some mistakes must remain in the past.
This is where our questions start popping up regarding the relics. Week 3 brings us to the belt once again to take down two Blade Master Cabal brothers with massive cleavers. A little side note here, it's kinda cool to see unique bosses in these types of activities. We've had the Sniper last week and now the Bond Brothers style encounter. Also, if you haven't noticed, these Pirate Lord missions are actually just old Lost Sector layouts repurposed and oftentimes played backwards. This is a really cool way to explore these old places like Mars and the Tangled Shore sectors, and I'm sure some players may have missed this. Back to the story though. Spider at the end of this mission says this.
Mythrax hasn't told you any more about these relics, has he? I suppose it's need to know. And Mythrax knows.
Spider, why are you using a secure channel? Did my father tell you to do so?
Huh? Clever scribe. No more flattery? Well, Mythrax asked me to keep you at arm's length. Perhaps he doesn't want you mixing in with our unsavory business.
Were those his exact words?
Only a guess. Who can say? And after all, who am I to question the Count?
Spider, I will find out what's going on here.
So Mythrax knows what's inside these relics. Spider tells us this and Eido jumps in trying to get more info about her father's past. When we return the relic to the helm, Eido has an interesting explanation.
I've been trying to determine what exactly is inside these reliquaries, but I dare not open them. The resulting surge of darkness energies would have unforeseeable effects on my physiology. However, I did manage to secure a centuries-old Vanguard mission report from the Cryptarchy. The reporting Guardian said that Elixni crews were infighting over what he called, quote, chunks of rotting meat. The report is of dubious quality, but it did make me wonder if the relic could be biological in nature.
So that old Vanguard report said crews were fighting over chunks of rotting meat. So Mythrax knows a secret about these relics which contain parts of some other being and hold dark power. This brings up the question of who this being may be and why do we want this power? Unless they introduce some new character, all signs seem to be pointing to Nezarec, with the new ornament, last season's glaive, Eris finding more weird stuff on the lunar pyramid at the end of last season she wanted to talk to Drifter about, and then that brand new delicate tomb lore we talked about in last video. If you stand in silence next to these things and listen, they do have an ambient sound, some compare it to the sound of breathing. Back in the ether tank, Eido has questions for Spider about her father's past. Eido wants to document the Elixni past. This is her job as a scribe. All she wants to do is learn more about her father, the secrets he's tried to keep from her.
Spider, there are questions my father refuses to answer. Have you seen him act this way before? You two were friends once.
Even if Mythrax had friends back then, I wasn't among them. I couldn't possibly speak to his behavior.
You're being evasive.
Oh, evasive? I prefer to think of it as coy. Well then, your father was unpredictable. We could have had everything we wanted if he listened to me, but he always knew better. Look at him now. Cal of a house, holed up inside the city. Picking over ruins, pretending he's content in the shadow of the great machine.
We were offered scraps and we took them.
Oh, is that ingratitude I hear?
I do not call the truth ingratitude, but enough of who my father is. Who was he?
I expected this from Spider, but not from you.
I am simply performing my duties as scribe of House Light. I will gather knowledge regardless of who would keep it from me.
Rakis, I told you not to speak of this. Do I have to dock your tongue?
Father! I apologize for the Kel's behavior.
Apology accepted. I see now. You're afraid little Eido will take off those rose-colored glasses. Such a delightful human phrase. And what will she see when she looks at you then?
Do not speak to my daughter again.
Oh, don't worry about me. Though, I'm not the only one who remembers. Sooner or later, she'll learn the truth. But I'm sure it will all work out. After all, what is it you say? The light provides.
The signs with this one are also pretty clear. Mithrax, nice Elixni Kel of House Light, seems to have had an evil past, leader of crews and pirates. The scary thing is that Spider says he's not the only one who remembers this though, and the other is probably Aramis. So could Eido try and reach out to the enemy to learn this truth? It seems likely in the coming weeks. At the hologram, Drifter sort of recaps the events of this week and speaks about that relationship between the Kel and his daughter.
Hey there, Captain. Figured I'd better take over while Mythrax is preoccupied. I heard he's dealing with some family issues. From what I could gather, he tried to shut Eido out from all this pirate business. Might have lost his temper. Definitely lost face. Poor Eido. What do they say? Never meet your heroes? Kinda tough when your hero's your dad. No surprise to me Mythrax has got some secrets. Everybody's got something that keeps him up at night. I'm sure they'll work it out. Folks have a way of putting aside their differences when the world's at stake. Just look at me and Zavala. Or me and Ikora. Or me and... anybody, really.
The funky engram business is still going on in the ether tank. After Spider gives you a low-level piece of armor, Eido says that this time, let's make a plan. She explains that we seem to be the reason this is happening over the various weeks. Next time, she's going to trigger a suppression field when the spider calls us in to chat. Maybe this will be the key to piecing together this scam of a puzzle led by the Elixni. And to round up this week's lore, we have some wholesome interactions and revelations about those body parts in the relics between Eris and Drifter. Here's the terminal first, and then the lore entry.
I kept this part quiet. I think half of those pirate lords didn't know what they had to begin with. They knew these things were powerful, but not why. Crack one open and you'd find a finger bone or a knot of old hair. Strong stuff. Smells awful. Ask me how I know. I've been holding on to them, but I figured you might want them.
Why?
I thought to myself, you know who might like something strange and unsettling? Eris.
A gift, then?
Well, yeah, Moondust. You could call it a gift.
The sentiment is appreciated. But no. You know what you possess. These relics are not simple curiosities to be hoarded. They might serve a greater purpose.
And what's that?
Am I your conscience? Discover this for yourself. They are reliquaries, objects of great power. The darkness moves just beneath its skin. Do you feel it? It ruptures, flows, envelops.
Ooh, I like listening to you talk.
And I enjoy your silence.
So Drifter has been holding on to some of these relics and gifts it to his hive space girlfriend in Eris. Eris calls them reliquaries, and if you look up that definition, a container for holy relics. In the lore card from these two in the Between Stolen Stars book, this entry is titled Truth in the 3rd week. The tale with Eris and Drifter continues as they examine one of these reliquaries in Eris's workshop. Eris workspace was organized, clean, a camp stove, a burned work, a crate of rations to keep her fed until the next supply drop to Luna, a metal work table with a neat arrangement of medical equipment carefully kept, half of a thrall's skull, a saw resting at its side, a collection of discarded chitin, a skein of hive leather. Drifter picked up a jar from a shelf. The container was filled with pickled hive eyeballs, the green dimmed by death. "You live like this?" Drifter asked, incredulous. Eris looked at him with a frown. "What do you mean? Like what?" Drifter gestured around the room. When she said nothing, he continued. "You called the derelict a heap." She switched on one of the harsh halogen lamps hanging over her work table. The light cast everything in hard lines of shadow. "It is. So what do you call this?" He shook the jar of eyeballs. They rolled and thumped together in the glass container before settling into a teeming stare. Eris silently returned her gaze to the reliquary. It was an unassuming vessel, its contents obscured, save for a strange interior glow. "Undoubtedly, the scribe of House Light has examined these," Eris said. "Why bring one to me?" "Eido ain't exactly a darkness expert." "I see." She felt the grooves and patterns under her fingertips as she turned the reliquary in her hands. She felt the shift and shudder of the darkness as it responded to her touch, to her silent inquiry. She ran the pad of her thumb over the seal's edges. When Drifter had first offered the relics to her, Eris had called them a gift. Now that she has one in her hands, she did not think she should unwrap it. She looked back to him. "What is your motivation for helping the Guardian? I do not assume altruism." Drifter gave her a look of mock offense. "Hey, why not?" I did not assume deflection. Speak plainly." Drifter fell silent for a moment. His face was pensive. When he finally spoke, his words were carefully chosen. "The Elixni need a win," he said, looking away from her. "After that, the Vex, salvation, everything. House Light needs a win. And defeating Aramis will be a win?" Yeah, hope it sticks this time. Drifter leaned back on his heels and grinned. Plus, always nice to be owed a favor. Don't know if Spider will make good on this, but I bet Captain Kel would. Again, deflection. She placed the reliquary down on her work table. Drifter didn't move to pick it up. You sure you don't want to keep him? His tone was genuine. Eris considered this. Not the offer, but the sentiment behind his words, the implicit, unspoken faith. You trust me? He shrugged. Who wouldn't? There was a smile, slight, careful at the corner of her mouth, something close to delight. Then stay, be silent and listen. I have thoughts on their utility. Drifter did as she asked. So the two begin by joking about Eris's disgusting workplace environment, and then they speak more of this relic. Drifter wanted to gift it to Eris as we saw in that terminal, and now that she has it in her hands and sees the darkness flowing inside of it, she doesn't really want to open it. This pretty much brings us to the conclusion of this week's story. The relics we've been collecting contain some type of dark entity, or at least body parts from it. That Vanguard report mentioned pieces of dead meat that the Elixni were fighting over. Again, is this Nezarec, or would they introduce some brand new character to this story that has some dark powers, perhaps a new disciple that the Witness wants? Anyway, Guardians, that's all we got for today's video. Over the last couple of weeks since the season started, we've been recapping the story, so if you missed those, be sure to check the description to get yourself all caught up. If you'd like to see some other Destiny lore and mysteries just like this video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. Anyway, I thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.